Hi everyone, it's Ryan and welcome back to God's Sentinels of the Future. In a previous presentation, Mailer said, that statement kind of threw me off a bit, and I wondered what he meant. That is, until this next transcription, where Danny says, "It's high time they understand most of us can have a physical ascension. It's our destiny. It's how we welcome the good to experience a new vessel." When he said it doesn't have to be believable, I believe he was referring to some of the possibilities that I bring or may bring forward in these presentations. Yes, having communication with God and the angels isn't the only incredible thing we will find proof of here. There'll be many more revelations that will exceed that, and I will use this as a perfect example. Previous to this angel's testimony, I believed that when we died and ascended to heaven, it would be in a spiritual form rather than a physical form, and I still believe that to be true. However, according to this angel-verified statement, it seems we may be able to ascend differently before death in a physical form as well. So how is that possible? In retrospect, we have to think about how many Christians believe in what they call the rapture. Some statistics say that about 40% believe in it. Perhaps the angels are referring to something like this. The rapture basically means to carry off. Those who accept this theory believe that all non-believers on earth at the time will be left behind for the tribulation period that will last for about 7 years, until Christ returns to set up his earthly kingdom during the millennium. Some also believe the rapture will happen just before the tribulation period, at the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel. Interestingly enough, I originally named Danny from Daniel in the Bible, and coincidentally, in the above theory, it speaks of the 70th week of Daniel. That is most likely coincidence, though. Similar to the way I found that a good friend and maid of Emanuel Swedenborg's last name was the same name as mine when I did a little research. This is what happened when Emanuel died. On Sunday, March 29, 1772, Mrs. Shearsmith and Elizabeth Reynolds, the maid, observed Swedenborg waking from a long sleep. He asked the woman to tell him the time of day. They replied it was 5 o'clock. "That is good," Swedenborg said. "I thank you. God bless you." He then sighed gently and died. As I mentioned in a previous presentation, Emmanuel is an ancestor of mine, and it was comforting to know that in the last words of this great man, he included the Reynolds bloodline and a blessing from God. So I have a question for God and the angels. Are you telling us that the rapture is really going to happen, and how does it relate to what we are doing here? I will talk more about this later, but now I would like to review fully what Danny said in his transcription. Danny started by saying, "Can you hear me?" And then I respond, "I can hear you." Danny continues, "Good. You can get this miracle, assuming you can hear it. You can think that one of the best miracles in this country is happening. Now Canada is looking at his watch. Budgies prove that it is not the reverse you usually have. The work of God opens the way as you find this new stuff completed. Yes, it's proven and can hopefully convince those here we speak with guides of light that can give the truth. Your reward will be when there's comments of miracles which involve these prophecies. This miracle is good for people who can learn the truth because of this. It's high time they understand most of us can have a physical ascension. It's our destiny. It's how we welcome the good to experience a new vessel. And this truth shall make a prophecy for something you can feel. In time, we'll begin to correct more of these recordings in heaven. and I'll be there to be one of the Budgies of God. Here are secrets, as we will broadcast our stream God's way. We support life for God who seeks love for all of time. And this is fighting for God, but it doesn't hurt people who confront our record. This current authority for a miracle will not have doubt applying what they need to this new finding. They'll know that people are surviving with God's help. There is help right now through these lessons working quantumly. Okay, it's taping if you want to talk, Danny. I can hear you. It's pretty early in the morning. You're not usually up this early, are you, Danny? You can talk a little bit louder if you want. Do you know what day it is today? I think it's January 31st, Wednesday, right? I haven't checked yet. We always sit here in the morning and watch the news together, eh, Danny? Can you show the people how you can read? What's on the TV? Can you say anything that you can read on the TV? Don't talk behind the mirror though, they won't be able to hear you. What are you doing? Come away from the mirror. Talking behind the mirror, he can't hear you. Come this side. Come over here. Want me to turn it off? Want me to turn it off? Are you okay? Maybe it's too early in the morning. You're awful quiet talking there. Okay, Danny. We'll turn it off. Thank you, though. Well, sorry about the last recording I did with all the noise from the budgies, and the birds. But sometimes that's unavoidable. Before I go any further, I'd like to just talk about some of the things that we do know that are pretty unbelievable that have recently happened in just the last year alone. So we're going to be looking at the 10 most significant scientific discoveries of the year so far. And the first one is scientists successfully edited the first human embryo ever in the US. The next one is scientists have finally created metallic hydrogen. The next one, scientists discovered an alien planet that's the best candidate for life as we know it. The next one is a world's first CRISPR trial will edit genes inside the human body. Then Breakthrough Initiative will grow organs and regenerate human tissue. And this one is DeepMind has taught an AI to do something quite remarkable. Apparently, they're teaching AI computers to navigate complex environments. And this one says, SpaceX historic launch proves recycled rockets are the future of space exploration. And this one says, this fluid-filled bag lets lambs develop outside the womb. Humans are next. And the last one is a new breakthrough in quantum computing is set to transform our world. So there's quite a number just in this last few years alone, and I'm going to briefly start talking about some of the things that we may be able to do in 100 or even 1,000 years from now, and I'll tell you why that's relevant. So the next thing I'd like to talk about briefly is an article from New Scientist that talks about 10 discoveries in the future that would change everything. The first one they talk about is, what if most of reality is hidden? So they're talking about hidden dimensions and infinite number of universes and things like that. And then the next one is, what if we discover we can see the future? After that, it's interesting, what if we learn to talk to animals? And then, what if we find extraterrestrials? These next two I'm not so sure about. And this one here is, what if we don't need bodies? The second last one, what if we came from space? And finally, what if we all decide that God exists? I've spoke about this before, but what we are doing here may help us to answer some of the big questions on the spiritual purpose of humanity's past, present, and future. Most people are aware that according to new discoveries in archaeology, there are a growing number of researchers who have found hundreds of examples of out-of-place artifacts that cannot be attributed to the times that they were discovered or documented under, but came from much further back in time, some as much as 1 million years. There are a growing number that believe humanity and advanced civilizations have lived on Earth even further back than that, and they have evidence to prove it. This evidence comes in suppressed advanced technologies used to create so many megalithic structures being found all over the world. So I have some of my own, or perhaps even some of your what-if questions. What if civilizations much more advanced than us lived on Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago and were so advanced they were able to find ways to leave Earth in mass numbers to go to other planets that would support life similar to Earth? What if these lost cultures and civilizations who created these incredible megalithic structures knew that the Earth was going to go through these cataclysmic events, and beings were sent by God to help them escape the death and destruction, taking them on a new path to a better life on a different planet in the universe? What if it's humanity's destiny, with the help of God, His angels, and highly evolved beings, to populate the stars and spread God's love and compassion throughout these multiple universes for eternity? What if humanity has already reached a level of evolution that far exceeds current humanity on Earth by 100, 1,000, or even 1,000,000 years? Would their level of technology be so evolved that we may not even be able to comprehend it at our current level here on Earth? What if the timing is now and humanity is at the level where we may finally begin to understand what really is possible? What if humanity in other universes already know how to teleport from one planet or universe to another, or travel back and forth in time, or make use of wormholes, and even regenerate human tissue to a point where we could stop and even reverse the aging process, where we could be young or even take on a different physical form? What if these ancient megalithic structures were there as evidence of hundreds of civilizations vanishing, and they were left them there as a means of letting current humanity on Earth know that more advanced civilizations lived on Earth and left Earth, so we could have a better understanding what is in store for us again in the future? You cannot deny that at the current rate of humanity's technology advancements on Earth now, it's only plausible that these things will become reality yet again. Right now, some of you may be wondering how God would only help those who believe in Him, and why He can't take everyone away from all the tribulations, death, and destruction that Earth may encounter in the future. Even I question a God who would not show compassion even for the worst sinners. Yet we have to understand His reasoning. For one thing, God does not cause the pain and suffering on Earth. He only tries to prevent it. And when it gets to a point where humanity has gone beyond preservation of life itself because of the rampant evil in the world, He chooses to find a way to help those good people in the world that want His help. Those that are left may need to experience some of the tribulations for more spiritual evolution, and those that He takes with Him are the chosen that will repopulate other worlds. I believe that He knows which ones will change for the better, and they will come as well. However, in order to prevent the pain and suffering from continuing in the next world, He can only cause a miracle that will create more good than evil. Secondly, unless we believe that we are going somewhere with a loving and compassionate God or spiritual being, we will be lost in confusion and have fear that we are being taken to a place where we may have more pain and suffering than where we are at right now. God will not take someone somewhere unless they believe that He is a loving and compassionate God and that they will be better off going where He guides them. That same principle is taken for those going to heaven as well. If we would rather live on earth than be in heaven with God, then it's our choice. He will not kidnap those who are not sure if they want to go. When the tribulations begin, He will do His best to provide those who are left with miraculous events that will provide them with as little pain and suffering as possible, and spiritual growth, so they can eventually believe in Him enough to join them. At the same time, Earth will have a rebirth and be able to support life again before it is totally annihilated by humanity. To finish this presentation off, I have another short one of our female red-winged blackbird, Lucky, speaking. I realize that there will be few that will understand much, if any, of what she is saying, but most people thought I was crazy when I said that Victor was communicating intelligently. Then the same thing happened with Mailer and even Danny in the beginning. When Lucky first began to speak, it was evident to me that she was communicating, as I had experienced similar speech from a flock of budgies that I had after Victor died. If you even listen to some flock of birds, you may notice that many seem to be speaking simultaneously. And this is a good example of that, because Simon often fills in words and phrases for Lucky in this recording. Over the past 20 years, I have learned not just to understand Budgie's speech, but that they often use different tones and chirps for different words as well. So even when I cannot hear the word as it is spoken, an image of a word will appear in my mind that comes from the vocalization they are using. Hopefully some of you who have been following me for a while will also be able to experience this as you hear the speech and the captions at the same time. What you saying, Lucky? Is there something you want to say to Ryan? Something you want to say to me? Do you like it here? Is your wing feeling better yet? We have come to a milestone at theangelscrolls.com where we have obtained over 1 million page views and over 100,000 downloads. That is just from that website alone. Then we have other sites and YouTube channels where we have had over 3 million page views and downloads in the past. I would like to thank those who've been following us over the years. Bye for now.